I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Lineker on becoming Mayor for 2021, and I will sort of symbolically take off the chain and deliver it later. Okay, Nicola, over to you.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate you on yet another successful mayoral year, working very hard on behalf of the town and of the two charities, the two really worthwhile local charities that you supported. So thank you very much for all your hard work on behalf of us all. And now I'm going to read the Declaration of Acceptance of Office. I, Councillor Mrs. Nicola Karen Reuter Lineker, having been elected to the office of Town Mayor, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I also undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is to be expected of members of Harpenden Town Council. I'll now sign that. We move to item 2 on the agenda, which is the election of the Deputy Mayor for 2020-21. I'd like to receive nominations for the incoming Deputy Town Mayor. I would like to nominate Councillor Paul Cousin. Do I have a seconder?
I would like to second Councillor Cousin.
Thank you. Could I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask Councillor Cousin to read and then sign his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Councillor Paul Andrew Cousin, having been elected to the office of Deputy Town Mayor, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I also undertake to observe the code for the time being. I also undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is to be expected of members of Harpenden Town Council. And I will sign. There we go, signed.
Thank you. Okay, we now move to item 3, which is apologies. I can see we're all here, so no apologies needed. Thank you. Item 4 is declarations of interest. Members are reminded to make any declarations of disclosable pecuniary and or personal interests that they may have in relation to items on this agenda. You should declare at this part of the meeting or when it becomes apparent your interest by stating the item you have interest in, whether it is disposable pecuniary interest and the nature of the interest, whereupon you will not participate in the discussion or vote on that matter unless dispensation has been requested and granted, whether it is a personal interest and the nature of the interest. Members are also reminded of their obligation to report any amendment to their register of interests to the town clerk as soon as it becomes apparent. Do I have anybody who wishes to declare an interest? I have Councillor Ellis, Councillor Priggen, and Councillor Maynard.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just to interrupt. I'll happily mute and unmute councillors, so you don't need to do that. Otherwise, we'll go flipping back and forth. So I'll save you that job.
Okay, I'd like to declare a personal non-pecuniary interest in the allotments item, as my wife is an allotment holder.
Councillor Priggen?
I'm an allotment holder, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maynard?
I'd like to declare a personal pecuniary interest in the allotment item, as my husband is an allotment holder.
I think that's everybody. Thank you. So the next item is the Mayor's report and urgent items. I don't have any urgent items, but before I ask the Town Clerk to give us an update on Harpenden Cares, I would just like to say a huge thank you in particular to Councillor Maynard, who created Harpenden Cares and was responsible for getting it off the ground. I know she has had a lot of support from local charities and churches and other councillors, but it's been a huge effort on her part. And I would also like to thank the town clerk, together with some of his officers, who's risen really to the very difficult challenge of working out how to deliver the help that's needed. So I would like to thank you all very much on behalf of the Town Council. Thank you. Now over to Carl.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a very short update from me. I just wanted to set out the latest statistics on Harpenden Cares now that it's been running incredibly for 6 weeks. So in that time, we've taken over 1,000 telephone calls now, and we've delivered over 400 essential supplies, including a large number of medication deliveries to lots of people. So really, this initiative is reaching lots of vulnerable and isolated people who would find themselves in quite a tricky situation if Harpenden Cares wasn't set up. I think I would just like to add my thanks to the volunteers that have really run this, and without them we really couldn't have delivered what we have been so far. And in particular, I'm sure Councillor Maynard will agree, the likes of the Salvation Army, Bethany Community Church and the Harpenden Trust, who have really been at the forefront of the delivery. I think it's fair to say we're expecting Harpenden Cares to need to continue for a number of weeks, and indeed there might even be a long-term need for Harpenden Cares even past the coronavirus. But it's worth just saying that we really remain in a position where we can adapt and scale up the operation should we need to, but hopefully we won't.
Thank you. The next item we have is item number 6, public questions in accordance with Standing Order 22. There has been one request from a member of the public to raise a public question or observation. This question is from Alison Quinn, Chair of East Harpenden Gardening Club, and is in relation to the allotments allocation agenda item. Alison is currently present in this meeting, and her question will be taken at the start of the relevant agenda item. So I will move on now to item 7, questions which have previously been submitted by members of the council. Do we have any?
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Then we move to item 8, which is minutes. The council is asked to confirm if they're happy to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of January 2020 as a correct record. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. I will then sign those as a correct record. So now we move to item 9, officers' reports. As we do have someone here who wishes to speak, I would suggest we take 9.3 first. And that is the allotments allocation from capital receipt. The pages are 19 to 88. And I'm going to ask Alison Quinn now to make her statement.
EHGC submitted a written request for 173,000 to bring our allotments into the 21st century with a realistic 3-year plan to improve our 6 sites. We request that the council approves the full amount of 173k for EHGC, not just a partial amount split across the 2 Harpenden societies. We have 3 objectives which are fully costed on page 15 and 16 in the plan before you. 1, safety and security across sites. 2, removal of historic rubbish and asbestos. And 3, to make improvements for safe access and to be open to all. The recommendation before you is only to approve a partial amount for fencing and gates to be split across both Harpenden societies after replacing the asbestos-ridden garages at Holcroft. There is therefore no guarantee any funding for fencing or gates will be given to East for the sale of East's former Westfield allotment site land. Security at our sites is critical to prevent trespassing, vandalism and theft. The fencing and gates are all too low and are climbed over. Fencing is missing on all sites and broken. The steel fencing requesting will ensure the site security now and for the next 50 years with no ongoing maintenance costs. The recommendation before you does not provide any allocation for replacing dilapidated machine stores, which is also a vital part of security, objective 1. The recommendation before you also does not provide for any improvement for safe access to sites for East, and for East to be open to all, objective 3. Funds have been requested, for example, to provide level surfaces at Holcroft, a ramp to the clubhouse, and raised beds for less able people. The wording of the 1922 Allotment Act clearly puts the emphasis on investments in allotments for improvements first and foremost, before any surplus is put to other use when land is sold. A surplus is something left over once requirements have been met. The intention behind this Act is not being fully upheld through partial allocation against only one area of the improvements formally requested by the club. It's also notable that the proceeds received from the sale of Southland in 1980 were reinvested in South only. It was not shared with East. We support investment to South, but not to our detriment. We therefore request that the full amount of 173k, as requested, is approved for EHGC allotment improvements. This still leaves a significant surplus of 2.477 million for other uses. 173,000 is only 6.5% of the 2.65 million received, which interestingly correlates with East's current reach of 6.4% of the local population. This will increase to 9% if full investment is received and is therefore value for money. Thanks very much.
Thank you. So if we all turn to page 19 of the agenda, you'll see that there are 3 recommendations. The first, 2.1.1, is to agree to allocate 132.5k of the capital receipt to allotment improvements, specifically funding safety and security improvements. 2.1.2 agreed that the funding will first be used to remove and replace the asbestos garages at the Holcroft site. 2.1.3 agreed that the remaining funds are used to improve security across all sites and are allocated based on the process set out in paragraph 4.3. Do we have any comments?
So, Madam Mayor, could I just interject on that point? Because I
Yes.
believe Councillor Maynard declared a pecuniary interest in this. Just to clarify that, in which case Councillor Maynard has the opportunity to make a statement before leaving any discussion and vote. I'm not sure whether I caught whether that was a pecuniary or non-pecuniary, so perhaps that could just be clarified.
But I think given that you have an allotment and you get food from that allotment, which means that you don't have to buy it, that's a pecuniary interest. I will stand corrected if you think it isn't.
Madam Mayor, if that's a question to me, I think it's up to the individual councillors to decide whether they have a pecuniary interest or not.
Well, I would consider that a pecuniary interest, and that the allotment enables me to grow food, or enables this family to grow food for itself.
Okay, Madam Mayor, in that case, then Councillor Maynard has the opportunity to make a statement before any discussion. And then at the end of that, I will place Councillor Maynard in the waiting room and collect her at the end of the item.
Yeah, I think I will just go into the waiting room. The other councillors who have declared an interest haven't made statements, so I won't make a statement.
Okay. And are Councillor Ellis and Councillor Priggan happy to remain within the main group?
I would follow Councillor Maynard in this, actually.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll go into the waiting room as well.
Fine. Thank you very much. In which case, that's everybody? Yes. So can I now ask for any comments or any questions? Yes, Councillor Butterworth.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and first of all, congratulations on your new appointment, and also to our new Deputy Mayor. Interesting times, new Mayor, a new way of conducting meetings, but here we go. I did actually have a relevant question, which is, as I'm relatively new to the council, I think this is just about my first anniversary. I'm not entirely clear as the background to the allotments. Clearly, they're part of the life of Harpenden and vigorously supported, and I welcome that. But that particular plot of land was sold, or at least agreed to be sold, I think, before I became a councillor. Was it used as allotments right up until it was sold, or I've heard a suggestion that actually it was not allotment land for quite some time before, and it could be relevant to any argument as to what should happen to the money. Thank you.
Thank you. My understanding is that the allotment site wasn't used for a number of years. I believe it wasn't recognised as a good site, and that the society at that time struggled to find enough people to take the plots on. So I think the original idea was to give the management of the site back to the town council, and that was in the 1990s. And then the change of use from allotment land we requested from the Secretary of State, and that was back in May 2003.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Hill.
Thank you. Can I just say, yeah, also congratulations on your new roles. Can I just ask, I welcome this is a detailed proposal that was sent forward, and I like the plan for planned reach, particularly to some of the schools and the local food bank, for example. I wonder whether there's plans for, in the future, how this is getting on will be reported back to the council, the community services committee, or whatever's relevant, to see whether this is being done and whether there's more that the town council could do in the future to help.
Thank you. The society will initially deal with the allotments working party, which is chaired by Councillor Heritage. That then reports through to CSC, and there's a very careful review annually, regularly, of how the allotment societies, both societies, are doing. No other comments or questions? Yeah, Councillor de Court.
Thank you, and yes, congratulations on your appointment. This may be more of a question possibly for the clerk. It's about the reference to what went on with the Southdown allotments, I think in the 1980s, obviously a long time ago, and I wasn't even living in Harpenden then. I just would just like a view on the significance of that in terms of how this allotment money, when the sum is settled on, is allocated.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So there is no precedent or impact that any previous decision that the council might have taken as to where any capital receipt or income might have come from a previous piece of land. The legislation is as it's set out. It's there is no specific geographical reference as to where we have to allocate the funds. And so whilst the council might have taken a decision at a point in the past, it doesn't mean that this current council is bound to make a similar decision based on organisational or geographical boundaries.
Thank you. Councillor Drake.
One question relating to the town council's responsibilities for the allotments. Had this large windfall not been available, then the security issue at the allotments would still, of course, have existed. Would the town council have had any responsibility to address that particular issue?
The management of both allotment groups lies with the groups, not with the town council. If there are no further comments or questions, are we ready to go to the recommendations? Okay, so recommendation, I'll just read it again, 2.1.1. is agree to allocate 132.5k of the capital receipt to allotment improvements specifically funding safety and security improvements. Do I have your agreement? I think that's unanimous.
Yes, Madam Mayor, unanimous.
Thank you. 2.1.2, agree that the funding will first be used to remove and replace the asbestos garages at the Holcroft site. Again, think unanimous, thank you. And 2.1.3, agree that the remaining funds are used to improve security across all sites and are allocated based on the process set out in paragraph 4.3. Again, that looks unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. We shall now move to 9.1, which is the forward planner and resolution tracker, as soon as the town clerk's been able to bring the other three back. Lovely, thank you. So forward planner and resolution tracker, page 7 to 10. On this one, the recommendations are: first, 2.1.1, note and approve, subject to any comments or amendments, the forward planner attached at Appendix A. 2.1.2, note the resolution tracker attached to Appendix B and approve the removal of those resolutions marked complete. Do we have any questions or comments? No? I did just want one clarification, which was on the Appendix B, the resolution tracker. I just wondered, it's marked complete, the award of merit. I just wondered how these have been given. Were the recipients sort of notified, and is there going to be a ceremony at some stage?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So the recipients we got as far as notifying them, and we were due to present those at the annual town meeting, which of course was postponed. I think once we get a little bit further down the line in regards to the current situation, I think Council and yourself, Madam Mayor, want to take stock as to how we give out those awards for merit. My suggestion would be is at an appropriate time when we can meet in person, whenever that shall be.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So if there are no comments or questions, I'll go straight to the two recommendations. I'll take them both together, 2.1.1 and 2.1.2. Those in favour? I think that's unanimous too. Thank you very much. The next agenda item is 9.2, and this is Committee, Subcommittee and Working Party Membership 2020-21. Recommendation: Council is asked to approve the council appointment set out in Appendix A. Do we have any questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, could I just add one thing on this item?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to confirm, Madam Mayor and Councillors, so you're asked under the outside bodies to make an appointment to the Rothampton Park Management Committee, which is currently a body that is operated by the District Council. Now, should the Town Council progress in its desire to own the Rothampton Park, this outside body will obviously no longer be operational. But my suggestion, and I think Madam Mayor, you will be keen to do this, is that to consider a subcommittee being set up reporting into the Community Services Committee in the first instance in order to oversee the early Town Council running of the park. And just to add that if that subcommittee is to be set up, it would be subject to proportionality, and therefore we would need to make, Council would need to make appointments to that in the usual way. However, at the moment, you're just making appointments to it as an outside body.
Yeah. Okay, is that clear? Okay, if there are no comments or questions, we'll go straight to the recommendation, which is to approve them. Those in favour? Yep, unanimous. Thank you very much. So when we now move to the next agenda item 9.4, which is the appointment of the interim RFO, the recommended, the responsible financial officer. The recommendation is the council is asked to approve the appointment of the town clerk as the interim RFO until Monday the 8th of June 2020. Any comments or questions on that? No, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I'll go straight to a vote. Those in favour? Lovely. Perfect. Thank you very much. That's unanimous too. In which case, we've come to the end of the business of the evening, and I close the meeting at 19:58. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.